just read a wonderful New England Journal of Medicine study that was done on Tirzepatide. So it's the GLP-1 plus the GIP medication that is now, it's meant to be used for insulin resistance. But other than helping with type 2 diabetes, this drug now has also been shown to have an effect on the inflammatory state. So they did this as a measure of C-reactive protein. So what they found was that individuals who were on Tirzepatide for, I think it was 6 to 8 months, had noticeable differences in their CRP, some going from 4 to less than 1, as a byproduct of, I'm guessing, maybe not triggering insulin, which is probably because when you have this drug, it satiates you, you don't feel like eating, therefore you don't get this insulin spikes throughout the day. But I thought that was really fascinating, the fact that, okay, yes, you're losing fat, we hope, or you're losing weight, let's just say, but you're also having an effect on your entire inflammatory levels and probably cortisol as well, which then they're showing outcomes in many things, mental health and mood, but also pregnancy outcomes. I think they even did trials on IVF outcomes as well. And we know that PCOS is just insulin resistance. So all of it is just doing this full circle for me right now.
It really is. It was coming back to Dr. Ben Bikman. He is one of my favorite teachers and researchers in this field. And I've met him many times and always enjoy being with him at conferences and listening to him speak and talking with him. And I always often tell people that if I could have one implant in my brain, it would be a Dr. Ben Bikman implant.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
There's so much to learn from him. But and he's absolutely right about insulin being the if you're going to pick one thing to focus on and understand in your life for optimal health, it is how to control your insulin levels, and it's very easy to do. So you can do it with a GLP-1. GLP-1s are going, I have no doubt, GLP-1s are going to be found to help with just about
literally
any disease you can imagine, because the way they work is they reduce appetite, they reduce glucose levels, they reduce appetite, they reduce food intake, and they reduce so all of those different, so they make you feel full sooner, for longer, because they delay the gastric emptying, so the stomach stays full for longer, food stays in the stomach longer, so you don't feel like eating. They also turn down the liver's production of new glucose molecules that are being poured into the bloodstream, so glucose levels come down. And just by eating less, your glucose levels will come down too, because you're not eating as much that's going to raise your glucose level. And your insulin levels are going to come down. So your glucose and insulin levels are going to come down. And that's the very same thing that a ketogenic diet does. Without side effects, co-pays, injections, it's the very same mechanism underneath. So now I read just the other day that more than 50% of Americans qualify to be prescribed a GLP-1. I mean, think of that is the degree of metabolic dysfunction in our country. And those are just people who meet this high bar for this expensive medication. Most of us have some degree of metabolic dysfunction. So the beautiful thing about this is, some people say, well, your GLP-1s are great. They work really well, but the problem with them is
on top of the cost. Yeah.
On top of the cost, and all of your problems are going to come back, right? So they don't solve the problem, they just put a Band-Aid on the problem, right? But there's this wonderful study by Virta Health that came out last year where they took people with type 2 diabetes and obesity who had benefited from GLP-1 medications, and then they transitioned them to a ketogenic diet, and then they took them off the GLP-1s, and those people were able to maintain the benefits, all the lower glucose levels and the weight loss off of the GLP-1s by transitioning on to a low carbohydrate diet. So one of the things I think GLP-1s can be, you were just saying how hard it is to get into ketosis. It's not, and there are lots of tips and tricks for getting people into ketosis, and I've put a lot of them in the book. But for people who do struggle, especially people who have a long history of severe obesity or food addiction, and really struggle to get their appetite and their food intake under control so that they can get into ketosis, a GLP-1 can be a wonderful bridge because it brings the appetite down and allows you to follow that ketogenic diet, get into ketosis without all those cravings, and then you can take the GLP-1 away once you're in ketosis, after you've been there for a few weeks, it becomes very easy to stay there. Because your appetite is so well regulated, your insulin glucose levels are down, your cravings go away. I mean, all of these things are beautifully managed once you get to the other side, but it's getting there. It's that transition that can be so hard for people. So I do see a role for GLP-1s for helping people get onto a ketogenic diet if they're not able to do it on their own. But I'm not a big fan of GLP-1s long term for most people. I think there will be exceptions, but for most people, I mean, really, we can't medicate our way out of this problem. We have to face the fact that we are eating the wrong way. We're eating ourselves to death. And it is about eating less and exercising more, but we need the right rules. We need to understand what is it that is okay to eat. What are the right foods that won't feed our cravings and cause our insulin levels to stay up and keep us hungry and fat. And I think this is really what it's all about. If people have the right rules, they can succeed, but they're being given the wrong information about how to eat to maintain a healthy weight and to maintain good physical and mental health in general.